This is an example of a bad addition to a song. Hello, friend, and welcome back to my studio. This last week, I've been thinking about a number of things, all related to the overarching topic of artistic refinement. How do you know when the art you're making is finished? How are you sure you can't make it better? And what happens if you just call it done when it's only half-baked? In this week's episode of Julia's Journaling, I want to go over those ideas with examples from Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish. It might sound strange, but in my daily life, I've been getting really heated about this topic, and I'm excited to share. Leave a comment on your thoughts and I will reply, and go ahead and subscribe, since we're chatting. While I talk today, I'll be painting my husband's face and arms, and I'm very proud of how it all turns out. If you're interested in my work, subscribe to my newsletter so you know when I put it up for sale. Now, on to the story. I guess I'll start with the opinion that's most likely to get me in trouble. The Tortured Poets Department is the weakest album Taylor Swift has put out since Speak Now. I am a Swiftie. I've been a passive fan since Red and a devoted fan since Reputation. And last year, I fell hard into the Taylor craze of the year and borderline worshipped her at points. But I'll tell you an embarrassing secret about me. When I listen to music, I can usually only make out about 30% of the lyrics. I don't know why, but I've always been this way, and part of the reason I love Taylor Swift so much was how understandable her lyrics are. She does not muddy her words, and the music is mixed with the emphasis of her voice being the leading musical element. So, a lot of my love for Taylor was truly from a lack of understanding the same amount of the lyrics in other artists' work. Well, I discovered that at work, I can play music and prop my phone up with Apple Music on and the lyrics rolling right in front of me, and that's been such a complete game changer. I can understand the clever lyrics and album themes of any artist now, and I've been loving it, which means my singular love for Taylor has been tamed back more into the ballpark of respect. I think her Midnights album is some of the best writing she's ever done, and before Tortured Poets came out, I was telling all of my friends that they could expect me to be crazy about her again. I expected the best work from her since she's literally at the height of her career, and I know from Red and Lover that she can make a beautiful album with both heartbreak and joy. I assumed that all the success and joy and pain from her last year would be channeled into her best ever writing and musical production, and I was brimming with excitement for the album. But I was so vastly disappointed. In my opinion, I think the album is a half-baked work of art that could have been great with a little more refinement and people around her to tell her when her lyrics suck. She's 34 now, and her lyric writing quality in this album was equal to Red. When you're 22, you can get away with your emotions overtaking your writing in lyrics like, I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22, and we are never ever ever getting back together, and now I'm lying on the cold hard ground. When you're 34, lyrics like, I'm having his baby, no I'm not, but you should see your faces, and touch me while his boys play Grand Theft Auto, and literally the entire lyrics of The Alchemy, they just don't work the same. I was so disappointed. She's capable of making beautiful, layered art, but this album feels like a first draft. The first 16 songs at least have a musical production that's unique and took some work to get right, but the anthology forgets that songs are even supposed to be more than just lyrics. The sonic landscape of the album is a little bit hard to pin down, but generally it's 80s synth and Western-like reverby guitar. I thought that combination was pretty unique. I actually realized when listening to a piano-only cover of the album that there's a lot more beauty to the melodies than I initially understood. And in fact, I liked the piano version enough to give the album a fresh chance, but the lyrics ruin the songs for me. Taylor Swift has gotten where she is on better writing than this. All of the lines felt inauthentic, more like she's trying to say gotcha in every line. She clearly wrote with a crowd in mind, and she was going for a dramatic delivery, and it comes off as desperate for attention, desperate to stay in the spotlight. Post Malone is such an awesome feature on the album, but he barely gets 2 lines, lest he overshadow Taylor. Florence and the Machine got more lines, and thank goodness, because she absolutely carries what would otherwise be an unremarkable song. The entire song about the smallest man who ever lived is an extended small dick joke, and it's not even subtle. Didn't measure up in any measure of a man. The writing there, including that song in the first half of the album and even performing it, it's petty and not what made her famous. She was made famous on her ability to capture real, raw emotions. But these songs are redundant and only fleetingly pass by anything that feels real. I loved the sounds going into, but I'm telling him to floor it to the fences, no, I'm not coming to my senses, and it's broken. The very next line of I'm having his baby, no, I'm not, but you should see your faces. That's and it was all a dream kind of line. It's sloppy writing. What bothers me the most about the album is that she's a better artist than this. Maroon is one of my all-time favorite songs. I'm a sucker for color metaphor. But she's at the height of her career, and she can put out 31 songs with abandon and have her entire fan base worship them. I was wrong to think that it would produce her best work. It produced her laziest work because she doesn't even have to try to get complete approval. Who in her writing room allowed No I'm Not to be in the chorus? Who was it? I want to fight. And while we're fighting, in what way is an albatross menacing? Please clarify that. I know from an artistic standpoint, it's so hard to know when something is done, especially when you make the same sorts of things over and over. Everyone gets lazy at some point doing that. But it's their duty as artists to keep pushing themselves past the acceptable point and keep up their work integrity and make it better than acceptable. Which brings me to an artist who has truly exceeded all of my expectations and is a perfect example of what happens when you care about refining your work after it's okay. What happens when you push through your work to the best it can be. That artist is Billie Eilish. I was amazed and entranced with her newest album, Hit Me Hard and Soft. I listened to it, not really expecting much, it was only 10 songs after all, and in one listen I was hooked. Now I've listened to it about twice a day since it came out, and I'm still just as entranced. If you haven't heard it yet, give it a listen. Hopefully it's the genre you like. I don't even know where to start in my praise. On the surface, the lyrics aren't really all that. The words she uses are pretty simple, and the concept's easy enough to understand. Most of the phrases in the songs are normal ones. She's not out here inventing sayings. But they're actually perfect because they're only a part of the song and they're delivered with soft honesty. Underneath the simple lyrics are layers of musical builds and transitions that give support to the words and power to each emotion just as stated. You can say you're really sad in some clever, beautiful metaphor, and that's fine. That's very good. But what she does in this album is say she's sad while filling your ears with the sonic feeling of it. One of my favorite songs to demonstrate this point is The Greatest. She says, tongue-in-cheek, that she's the greatest because she does what's right without a reward. She's referencing the whole nice guy phenomenon, guys who wait patiently for sex and call themselves the greatest for doing so. But the whole song is crafted with the saddest, most pained melody, and it comes off more like she's reprimanding herself for even jokingly thinking of herself as great for doing the decent thing. She's making her sad emotional state so much more complex by bringing in self-reprimand and hyperbole, and the way the song builds to emotional, powerful singing that sounds like she could cry the very next moment after belting her heart out. It all makes a genuine sorrow ring true in the song. One of the best parts of the whole album are when the songs transition into a different beat and keep the sentiments already expressed going, but in a new way. This, to me, is such a mark of art that has been combed over, edited, changed, and perfected. If all of her songs ended after the typical verse-chorus structure, the album would be a fine one, but nowhere near the masterpiece that they released. I'll directly compare a Taylor Swift song that was added to with a Billie Eilish song. In Fresh Out the Slammer, the part that says, "To the house where you wait up and that porch light gleams, to the one who says I'm the girl of his American dreams," this is an example of a bad addition. It was clearly written later than the rest of the song. It is so clearly talking about a very specific but not technically named person, and the tone of what's being said does not match the rest of the song. It even goes from second-person point of view to third, and it was unclear even before the addition who "you" means because it's said in reference to more than one subject. the music doesn't match, the tone doesn't match, and it takes away rather than adding to the song. It feels more like a quickly scribbled PS than a chunk of the same song. In Billie's L'amour de la vie, the first half of the song is a slightly upbeat but relaxed jazz talking about a past heartache. It seems to end, but quickly her lyrics are repeated in a different tone, marking a transition, and then it builds so cleanly into a fast-tempoed, almost 70s cardio kind of song. She keeps talking in second person, but now she mentions what it's like for her as time has passed. And it all feels like one song because the music was mixed with calculation and reserve. Billie uses the combinations of lyrics and sounds to really capture the emotions she's referencing, the nuances of them, not just what you can convey with witty words. The sonic landscape of this album is post-apocalyptic lounge jazz, and it builds a new category of sound with the combinations of old-timey kinds of intros, like the boom, 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 with the auto-tuned 70s, 80s-esque song endings. Think, it's over now. I can't say enough in praise of these 10 songs. I think the worst of the album, and I'm not even sure which the worst would be, is better than the best of the Taylor Swift album, because she took time with it. Because Billie was trying to make a good piece of art where Taylor seemed to just be trying to make a point. Billie didn't release all 31 songs she could have possibly written a draft of. She released 10 really solid ones that she put clear refining into. At the end of the day, I think that's the kind of art that shines above the rest. Trying your hardest to make your very best work every time you make work will, in my opinion, make your work last longer, be felt deeper, and bring greater creative reward to the artist. For my own example, I'll say that this skin I've painted here is probably the best skin I've painted yet. I'm still trying to improve with each new painting. I've thought several times that, wow, this last painting is surely my best and I can't do better. But when I keep trying to refine my skill and rework areas I'm unhappy with, I learned that I can do better and come away with the next best thing that I've ever made. I think it's always worth the time and effort to refine your art. And if you like my art, subscribe now to see my painting progress, and leave a like or comment to help me share my work. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye, friend.